for all parents and the kids. So I welcome all my co-panel members, uh, Dr. Avinash, Dr. Rashmin, Vijayalakshmi ma'am, and Vidyashankar Guru. I request if the panel members can unmute their audio as well as video.
They've said the host has stopped our video. So just check, please.
So Mahesh, if you could just unmute the audio and video for the panel members.
I already allowed, sir.
Please go ahead. Please do it.
No, I'm not able to start my video.
It says you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Yeah.
Atul sir, I have given host for you. Can you check?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we are good.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Panel members, welcome and thank you for removing time from your busy schedule. In fact, Dr. Avinash and Dr. Rashmin, it's been a very hectic schedule, and I'm telling you, participants, that it's fortunate that we have these guys over here because they are day in and out taking care of all the stress that we all are passing through because of the current situation. Without uh, wasting much time, we will deep dive into the topic. Uh, First and foremost, I would like to uh, advise everybody about the ground rules. If you have any questions, please mention that in the Q&A chat box, or write it on the chat, or put your hand up through the hand logo that is given. With either of those, we will be taking the questions on a sequential basis. Uh, Before that, each panel member has some bit to mention, and we will allow them to do that. So we'll start with Dr. Avinash first. He's a consulting psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. He's a consultant with many schools. He's a research associate at the Department of Psychiatry at Lokmanya Tilak Municipal Medical College, Mumbai. International faculty for UNESCO, chair in bioethics, working in over 8 countries for the same. Uh, Dr. Avinash, over to you. What are your first thoughts on the current situation, and what are you seeing in and around in the environment? Thank you, sir.
Well, I think one of the most important facets which I mentioned in most of my talks is that this is a very unprecedented kind of situation. None of us have seen this before. We have had Bombay being closed for a day or 2 days due to certain riots and other elements. Even after bomb blasts, the very next day we've been back to work. So we've never really had a lockdown where everything has been closed and we've had to remain indoors. Particularly when it comes to parents and children, we've always been the ones who've been telling our children, leave the phone, leave the gadget, leave the TV, go to the compound, play, go down, play, go to the garden and play, or go here and play. And now we are, telling them the opposite, that you can't go out of the house anywhere. So, and particularly with the government telling us that, children shouldn't be going out. So we don't even see children play in compounds. We don't see children play in complexes. So they are not seen anywhere. The only place we see them is maybe sitting in the balcony and probably enjoying a bit of the view. But so that is the most unprecedented thing. And children obviously get cheesed up. Then on one hand, we have to also provide a good dose of digital and non-digital entertainment for the children, which is very difficult to do because children, once they get a dose of digital entertainment, I think the non-digital forms do not interest them as much. So then again, to maintain that balance gets difficult. And above and all, I think even the parents are stressed. So that stress also percolates to the children. So that's how I think the situation is.
Right, doctor. I mean, you are bang on target. It's like if the child starts having chocolate every day and then you stop, ask them to stop, it becomes so much more difficult. Uh, Next in line, I would request Dr. Rashmin. Uh, Dr. Rashmin has been working with the Department of Psychiatry with D.Y. Patil School of Medicine. He's a consultant psychiatrist and director of Mindspace Clinic, Mind Wellness Center. Uh, and he's also consultant psychiatrist at Arogya Nidhi Hospital, Juhu, Apollo Clinic, Goregaon, and many more other places. In fact, he also is being invited at various forums to give his thoughts, and we are lucky to have Dr. Rashmin today with us. Dr. Rashmin.
Thanks, Atul. Like Avinash has already mentioned, this is quite a challenging time for all of us, and it's also an exciting time, depending upon your perspective. If you want to see the glass half full or half empty, this is an opportunity for us. This is an opportunity for us, despite the calamity, despite the challenges in the environment around us. It has given us the opportunity to hit the reset button because we were always in a state of in a loop. We were just running faster and faster, trying to catch up with our own selves. And this has given us that moment to take a pause and reflect back and want to recalibrate ourselves completely. This is a unique time primarily because adults are being forced to indulge in childhood activities and children are being forced to behave like adults, right? For example, I'm sure most of us have started playing board games and chess and carom and ludo, etc. And our kids are helping us cook and sweep the floor and mop the floor. So, so in that sense, it is quite a mix and quite a funny situation. At the same time, it is also an opportunity. For example, most of us have never spent so much time with our families as we have in the past couple of months. We had to take vacations to spend time with the family, and we would have to run away from Mumbai for thousands of kilometers to spend a couple of days with each other. And now that we have 2 months with each other, we can't wait to get out of each other's hair for the better. So it's something which, as unique as it is and as challenging as it might seem, is actually an opportunity for us primarily because we have learned to live life in a far more simplistic manner. We've always been indulgent of ourselves and our children. We always wanted our children to go to the most happening activity classes and summer camps and skating classes and French classes and music classes. All of that has stopped now. So it gives us an opportunity to sit back and wonder, have we been outsourcing our parenting responsibilities to other people and have we been doing enough ourselves? And now that we are forced to actually take active participation in our child's day-to-day functioning, we begin to question our own contribution to their lives now. So it's an opportunity for us to really introspect, for us to learn from this, because if we don't, it's not going to get any easier. This is going to be the way of our lives for the forthcoming future, perhaps for next 6 months to a year, or maybe until about 2022. So we have to take this opportunity to sit down, introspect, jot down all the points that we have been able to revisit, learn from it, and then change the rules of the game for the better word, for want of a better word.
Dr. Rashmin, I think you have summed up your personal as well as 90% of the people's household situation in the last 4 weeks very nicely. I can tell you one thing that we have at my place, uh, fixed hours for playing board games. Whether there are fixed hours for doing work or not is a different point. I have to entertain my kids. I have two kids, 6 year and 4 year, and I fully resonate with it. Moving ahead to our next panel member, uh, Vijayalakshmi ma'am. Vijayalakshmi ma'am has been working with the Narayana group of institutions. She heads the learning and development at the Narayana group, who have more than 4 lakh kids studying in their K to 12 schools, out of which 80,000 students are in hostels. She's a wellness expert, designed programs for well-being of students, parent and faculty seminars in addressing adolescent issues. She's come up on multiple radio talk shows for bringing awareness on mental health and related issues, conducted leadership programs, and also in this testing time, her team of 50 odd members is running a, a stress management helpline, which is also available. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Atul, for the warm introduction. Now, yes, parenting in general is very challenging, and then if we add the pandemic that we are in into the mix, it is next level altogether. Now we see that as times are, the extended period of confinement is increasing. The students are getting stressed, and then there is fear that is increasing, and then there is also frustration. Now along with this, even parents, we see that there is increased levels of frustration. So now this can be quite challenging to handle, and then it is also testing our tolerance and also our long-term thinking. So under normal circumstances, the general well-being, in this circumstance, it's not exactly sufficient to address the emotions that we are going through. I would agree with Dr. Rashmin here, as he said, with the given situation, there are two sides to it. The positive side, wherein parents and families are getting a lot of time to spend with each other. There's a lot of awareness that is going on. There is a lot of deep dive into the internal self, and then also the bonding is increasing. Now the other side of it is, where based on the temperament of the individual and then the personalities of the individual, the anxieties are increasing, and then handling kids for this long durations is also taking a toll. Now with the students that we are
Ma'am, we cannot hear you.
Your audio's gone to freeze, I think.
Ma'am, I think she's gone on freeze. Probably there is a network glitch. Vijayalakshmi ma'am, I think there is a network glitch, and that's why the audio and video has gone on freeze. We will come back to her. Meanwhile, I would like to introduce our next panel member, Vidyashankar. He's a founder and CEO of Only Success Learning Technologies, a master trainer, best-selling author on life skills management for kids and adolescents, certified neuro-linguistic programming and practitioner. Vidyashankar, it's a pleasure to have you. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Atul. Thanks for that introduction. And it is wonderful to have a great panel, Dr. Avinash, Dr. Rashmin, and also Vijayalakshmi ma'am. And apart from it, my very good friend Atul is part of it, because Atul has a very rich experience. He's a director of, say, education and technology practice with Anandrathi. So it's wonderful to have you, Atul, as part of this panel. So if you go ahead and check the kind of challenges what parents go through today, it's multi-fold, because as doctors were mentioning, Dr. Rashmin was mentioning, we have never experienced something like this in the past, right? It is something which almost for the first time in our life we are going through this, because certain events in life happens once in a day, right? I mean, day is a cycle, and similar to that, there are certain events which happens say once in a month. There are certain events which happens once in a year. There are certain events which happens once in a decade, and there are certain events which happens once in a century. And this event, this particular event, what we are going through is almost once in a century event, and it's a reality. If you go back, check the history, almost 100 years back, in 1919, we have faced something very similar, what we call it as a Spanish flu. But those days, the impact on the world was relatively lesser because the lifestyles were completely different. Way people were leading life was different. I mean, we were not looking to run away from our home to spend time with family because days were shorter, right? I mean, the kind of jobs what we are doing were completely different. But today, if you check, if we need to find time with family, that too with children, it was very tough, right? It's something just not possible for most of the parents. So we are finding ways to manage that. Today, what happened was this: whatever we are praying to God is just gifted. You wanted more time with family, take it. You want longer weekends, take it. That's what has happened. Now the biggest challenge is how to make this time really effective or really useful, because one part of the people have no choice but to fight against this biggest challenge, which is almost 10% of the mankind, which is I mean, the doctors are here who are actually falling in that 10%, right? I know whenever we need to connect with any of them, they were too busy handling their patients because there are a lot of challenges, stress levels have gone up a lot. Maybe I would like to listen from them later, some specific experiences, what they have with parents today, right? It's completely different. So if you go ahead and check, there is 10% of them who are fighting out this entire whatever experience we're going through. Remaining 90% of us are supposed to stay at home and support the nation. That's something what we are supposed to do. But the biggest challenge is this: as parents, multiple challenges, right? I mean, you're not sure what is going to happen with respect to your finances, what is going to happen with respect to your career, because many uncertainties with respect to career. There are a lot of uncertainty with respect to relationships, right? And again, how to engage my child usefully. I mean, child must have to learn something online, because being Indians, we believe education is something very, very important. We might have crossed through education as phases, be it Vedic period or pre-British, post-British, or today the current way of learning, e-learning, whatever it is. End of it, we felt education is something so important, right? So if you check, one of the biggest concern for parents today is how this education space is going to pan out, right? Is my, I mean, there is a parent who was wondering how this typically a 12th standard child, say almost half of the year is going to go, right? And as the college is open, we are not sure how it is going to look. Or typically there are kids who are waiting to take up their IIT and NEET exams, right? Or kids who are supposed to graduate and move to the next class. Schools have started their online classes. So whether my child is able to learn. So these are all the typical challenges which as parents go through. And more than everything, intense negativity. We have never seen this size of negativity and uncertainty in the past. You can ask your parents, you can ask your grandparents, anyone. None of them have seen this size of negativity, this size of uncertainty. When you go through intense uncertainty, intense pain, you have two choices. Either we can completely give up, right, and decide it's not going to work and have so much of stress, or possibly we can stop, rethink about life. Because the toughest, I'm just borrowing the word from Dr. Rashmin, the toughest thing what human being can possibly do is thinking. So it is, can we reset our life? Is this the time to pause and reset our life? Definitely Vijayalakshmi ma'am will be able to throw a lot of light in, because she handles a lot of students. So she'll have very in-depth understanding of typically how children who have to face some very important exams, right? What is their mindset? What kind of challenges their parents are going through? That is something what we can definitely expect from all the panelists.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vidyashankar. And we have quite a few questions, and I will straight start taking up the questions. Uh, but just before the questions start, I would like to mention over here, parents, if your kids are not in the critical years of exam, if your kids are below 6th standard or 7th standard, just assume that it's 1 year where they will learn good quality life skills. They will learn how to survive. Don't give them stress daily to just study. And if you just think that in your mindset and start working from that perspective, a lot of things will get easier for both you as well as your kids. Taking the questions, panel, we have a couple of questions rather, that in AP, the SSC exams are expected to start very soon. They were postponed and they are expected to, the dates are expected. How can the kids focus in this environment? Not everybody is lucky to have their own separate desk or a separate room with the entire chaos that is going in and around them. How do you expect them to focus, and what tips can we give them to really take care of their health as well as their education, because it's a critical year for the parents and the students. Panel, anybody can take this up. Dr. Rashmin, Dr. Avinash, do you want to take it up?
Avinash, want to go ahead?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the key things which matter here is that um, how was the child studying earlier? Okay, he was in the same house, he was in the same environment. If he didn't have a desk earlier, he didn't have a desk now. But one thing is that he had less people around him because people were working and they were out, so they would probably arrive only in the evening, and he had a lot of time in the afternoon to study or maybe be on his own and read. And now there is a lot of distraction around him, and sadly the other 5 people in the house are not appearing for their SSC. So they would probably be doing a lot of other things which could distract him. But I think I always believe that in India the SSC and the HSC are a family exam, and I think Rashmin will agree. I mean, we all feel we are also appearing for SSC if someone in the house is appearing for SSC. So what happens is we all decide, हाँ ठीक है, मैं भी TV नहीं देखूंगा, मैं भी disturb नहीं करूंगा. So I think they parents and people are such that they'll even huddle up in one room so that this poor fellow for 4 days, if he has to study, or 3 days has to study, they'll see that he studies. So I think families will adjust. I don't think yes, I agree that the rhythm that they had when the exams were going on may have been lost, and they'll have to probably get that rhythm back. And like I remember a kid telling me that the 4 subjects or 3 subjects which are left are subjects which I don't like. But I said that anyway, I mean, you don't have a choice there. I mean, you would have had to appear for those subjects anyway. So they said no, but the thing is that we first studied, we thought 15 days the lockdown would end, then another 15, then another 15. Now we have lost our sort of rhythm. And I said, okay, but you probably already know what you've read. So the key thing is the moment the dates are announced, you start reading again. And I'm very sure if they have read the year round, memory does come back. It's not that it's not going to be difficult. And they would be able to do it. I mean, I think Rashmin can add. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like Avinash said, there will be a certain amount of disruption in their rhythm or the flow of studies per se. But most of the kids, if you speak to them, they're not that hassled about it. It's the parents who are more hassled about it. The kids are pretty much okay. They have been studying these subjects for the whole year, right? They're in their 10th grade. They're not studying for their final year of medicine, that they have about 5 textbooks for each subject. So there's only so much of rote memory and rote learning that one can possibly be subjected to. They have done that over and over, and it's almost ingrained into their systems. The only disturbance is in the rhythm. Everybody is in a certain state of mind when they have to go for their exams, and that is disrupted. But if you honestly speak to most of the kids, they are not bothered about the exams getting postponed. They are more bothered about the fact that they've lost their vacations. So their perspective is very different from our perspective. And we need to, if we want to help our kids, we need to learn to look at things from their perspective. If we are going to be upset, if we are going to be psyched all the time, if we are always going to get concerned about things which we are not supposed to be, right? It's the child's exam. If they are very relaxed about it, if they are very cool about it, then we have to just leave it to them. Most of the kids who are in their 10th grade are 15 years. They are tiny adults. They are not children anymore. We continue to treat them like children primarily because we think of them as children, but they don't think of themselves as children anymore. So we need to trust them. We need to ask them, do you need any help from our side? Do you need to get something from us in terms of academic assistance, in terms of helping you with your revision work, etc.? 9 out of 10 kids would say, we are good, leave us alone, we'll manage. So as most of us who see child psychiatry cases in our routine practices have encountered, in all children who are brought to us for problems, about 75% of all our effort and hard work goes into handling the parents, not the child. The child as much, so when we try to discipline the parents and ask them to give space to the child, pretty much 75% of all the child's problems disappear by themselves without we having to do anything. We just get paid for just being on the child side rather than the parent side most of the time. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Whenever the exams are eventually going to happen, it's not that they will call them and say, Kal subah exam ke liye aa jao. They will be getting adequate amount of notice. They will be getting at least about 15 days to 20 days worth of notice. And they have about 2 or 3 papers in most of the cases, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I think those should be adequate enough, probably. So the most important thing is we need to be calm, we need to be relaxed. Because if we are upset, we are tense, all right, as parents, then we are conveying to the child that there is a reason for you to be upset and tense. If we are very calm and composed and relaxed about it, then even if they are anxious, most of the times they are not, mind well, but even if they are anxious, then they would look at us and say, I don't think I need to worry. If everybody is so chilled out about it, everybody is so calm and composed about it, then I don't have to worry. I have to just go and reproduce something that I have been doing for the entire year over and over again. Most of these kids have given revision exams 100 times. They can get up at 3 in the morning and half their sleep, they can write the paper and probably still get a distinction. So I think we probably are addressing our anxiety about what if rather than the child's problems. And remember, like Avinash said, it's a group exam, right? It's a family exam, but it is not. We should not try to get in the child's way. If we leave them alone, most of the time they manage very well by themselves.
Very valid point, Dr. Rashmin. Leave your child alone and they will manage it. Vijayalakshmi ma'am, yeah, you wish to come?
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to add a point here. I very well agree with what Dr. Rashmin and Dr. Avinash had said. It is, the parental pressure that adds into the existing fear that the students are facing. Knowingly or unknowingly, what has happened is exams have become more of an outcome based rather than the actual process of learning involved. Right? We are missing out what the exam is for us to help our understanding on the subject. Right? How much of it is it we have learned from it. So if the focus continues to be on the process, that will help in addressing the fear. And then apart from it is because that fear it is constantly lingering. We feel that a lot of times students do come to us saying that we've studied the whole night, and then when we are revising we are able to remember, and all of a sudden in the exam we forget. Right, so it is again that fear factor which is adding on to their existing anxiety. And as earlier Mr. Dr. Rashmin had said, it's when you're hit with that anxiety, you suddenly forget. But if you're able to control that anxiety and you calm your nerves, automatically things keep coming to you, right? So that is one. And then apart from this, that's when the student is focusing and they're trying to study, there are a lot of thoughts that keep coming, right? Will the paper be easy, or will I be able to do well, or would it be hard, or will I be able to reach out to the expected marks that my parents have set? So when these thoughts keep coming, they keep disturbing the study pattern. So, and in all of this, how parents can be supporting is give them the required empathy, give them the required support, and also be available for any open communication. I think the first and foremost, if that communication comes in and where the child is able to express the fear to the parent, the anxiety is addressed.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Let me just come in here for a
Sure.
moment. This is, of course, more in the context of the 10th grade, 12th grade, or the important years which people are very concerned about, and what if they won't be able to back to it, right? Most of these kids have been studying continuously, and it's like muscle memory, right? So, Atul, if you have been riding a bicycle for 20 years and then suddenly you become extremely affluent and you cannot afford a bicycle but a Mercedes, if the 11th year you pick up the bicycle back again, you will get on it, and in a couple of hours you'll be good at it back again.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
muscle memory. So these kids have been doing this for a long time. They don't have to worry about forgetting things. You cannot forget something which you have registered well. You may not be able to recall immediately unless you are going to revisit it a few times before your exams, but you are never going to forget something, right? Most of the language that we are using today in our communication, we have learned in our early grades of school, right? So we don't forget it. If, for example, if we're to do this webinar in Marathi or Hindi, and if day after tomorrow I go back to an English webinar, I don't think I'll forget my language. So it doesn't matter. I think we are overplaying this entire thing too much about how the kids will be able to cope up, manage, etc. They will manage very well. They all have that inherent memory of the subject in it. They are not going to lose that memory. Don't worry about it. You just need to be a bit more calm and relaxed about it.
Dr. Rashmin, I think I can resonate 100% with you. I mean, I have done my CA and MBA studies. Parents, I'll tell you one thing. The thumb rule is that if your child has studied the full year, then nothing is going to stop them from writing the exam. And if the kid has not studied the entire year, your helicopter parenting right now is not going to change anything. So don't make yourself and your kid both have sleepless nights. Moving ahead, we have a couple of questions around anxiety, where parents are asking that, they may possibly be working from home, or may see a red patch in their financial life where they may lose their job, and at the same time, they are sitting at home full day with the kid, and the kid is not listening to them, or are not studying, or they are not doing the work they wish to do. I mean, these are certain things which will come up with more and more parents over the next ensuing 3 to 6 months. The panel, I request you to give some bites as to how the parents can deal with these things.
As I was mentioning, so if you go ahead, check one of the aspects right now is school and studies. I mean, definitely that is a major aspect, but there are multiple things as a parent, because parent is first an individual by themselves. They may be a working professional, maybe a business owner, whatever kind of person they are. So wherever they are, they just foresee a lot of uncertainty. Things are not clear. So one of the biggest challenges that creates a lot of stress in them. And apart from it, over that, children behavior, I'm not including studies, because studies is one aspect of the entire what a child can possibly do. Children behavior, like not listening, because you experience it right now more, because as you give 100 commands, and then if your child is listening to 40 of them. In a normal day, you don't have time to give 100 commands, right? You give 10 and child is not listening to 4, you are okay. But right now you tend to think like most of the times my child is not listening. So one thing what we always believe in is there are no resistant people, only inflexible communicators. So parents definitely, I mean, it's more about the flexibility, bringing in different ways of communicating with your child. So definitely it is a lot of learning for parents. And one thing which I would like to highlight is this environment, this experience of ours will definitely have a long-term impact, not only in all of us, but even in children, right? Even after 20 years, we'll definitely remember this period in our life. And so many of, for children, this is a time where their belief systems are formed, where they understand this is true, this is not true, right? This is, those kind of basic values of life are also formed. So to what extent that will be impacted because of this situation is something what the panel can also share their experience. So this is something what I am coming across. Maybe we would like to listen from the doctors, Vijayalakshmi ma'am.
Dr. Rashmin, you would want to add some thoughts on this?
Yes. So you were alluding to the parents' frustration, right? That was the main issue about economic insecurity, about their job insecurity, about their family challenges.
Absolutely.
So if we are talking in the context of kids, it's essentially the frustration of the parents which is the issue, right? Kids are actually having a ball of a time. They are not having any issues at all. Their only grouse is they can't go down to play cricket or play with their friends. And they have adapted extremely well. The kids have started having Zoom meetings with their friends. They are having online games which they are playing now. Kids are extremely, extremely malleable. Kids are extremely good at adapting to any given situation. It's we who are cast in stone in certain habits who have an issue. If we talk about economic insecurity, all of us have to accept the fact that we are all going to take a financial hit, right? For example, Avinash and I probably see the same number of patients, or maybe slightly less number of patients, but only half of them are paying us. The rest of it is just a philanthropic activity, primarily because we cannot deny treatment to anybody, right? And I'm sure all of you will encounter the same challenges. Everybody will either have to take a pay cut or have to forego a few months' salary. We are all still making every effort to support our domestic staff, support people who are in more dire straits than we are. And it's going to come at our cost. So we are spending more and we are earning less. But that's the way it appears to be. If on the long run, you have to look at the overall financial conditions, then it is going to be a leveler. We are going to be earning less, but perhaps we are also going to be spending a lot less. You're not going to take any expensive vacations anymore. You're not going to go out on shopping sprees to the mall anymore. You're not going to have 300, 400 rupee tickets in a PVR with 1,000 rupee popcorn bill anymore. You are not going to be having the kind of frills and the kind of expenses that you had earlier. So our lifestyle has also been impacted, and it's eventually going to become far more simplified. As I'm very fond of telling some of my patients who are very worried, we have actually, there are some of you who are slightly elder than the others. We've gone back to the 70s and the 80s lifestyle, right? We are doing things simpler. We're eating home food. We are not going out for entertainment. We are entertaining ourselves with each other. We are actually indulging in family activities, right? That's our entertainment now. We are actually connecting more with our parents, with our children now, as we did earlier. And it's something which is a really nice experience in itself, right? As regards the economic hardships, yes, but then you have to simply adapt to it. You have to make do with less. But doesn't matter really, because the more you earn, the amount of food you eat doesn't change much. The quality of food that you eat doesn't change much. In most cases, we've seen the richer you are, the simpler food you are forced to eat by your doctors. So you're already there. You're already one step ahead of the game. So there's nothing for us to worry. The frustration that we experience with children is because we are used to that remote control life, right? For everything, we have a remote control, a television, a video, Even a curtain nowadays is a remote control. Unfortunately, kids don't come with remote controls. They are free spirits. They do what they want. They always have and they always will. If you say they didn't listen to us, why should they listen to us for everything? They are free to have their own opinions. They are free to express themselves the way they choose to. There are certain disciplinary issues, of course. So those, I mean, I cannot have a child wanting to play with fire in the house. So that's unacceptable. But by and large, the kids have been the way they have always been, right? It's just that we are spending a lot more time with them. Like Vidyashankar rightly said, because we are there with them for that much more time, they seem to be a bother for us that much more. But they listen to us maybe 2 out of 10 times. They listen to us 20 out of 100 times now. The ratio has not changed. The amount of interaction has increased substantially. And that is what is our grouse. That is something that we are not able to accept. We constantly try to control them. The more we try to control them, the more we are encouraging them to rebel. And kids at this age, I'm assuming most of the kids that we are talking about in this forum are between 12 to 16, right? So kids this age are supposed to be rebels. They are supposed to be forming their identity. They are supposed to be exploring the world. And the way you explore the world, the first step towards exploring the world is to say, I'm not going to accept this. I want to explore something which is an alternative, right? So when we try to throttle their desires, when we try to control them too much, we are actually inhibiting their growth. So by being permissive, we are not doing them a favor. Even if we are not going to be permissive, they are still going to do what they're going to do. By being permissive, we are doing ourselves a favor. We are not allowing ourselves to get as frustrated as we would have otherwise. So we need to become a bit more open-minded. We need to become a bit more calm towards our kids. And the irony is, sometimes if you just follow what your kids do, you'll find that you're actually better off. As they say, the child is the father of the man. It's very, very useful for you to actually do what your kids do and see how they are able to make peace, they are able to adapt, they're able to have fun. Just do what they do and you'll find that most of your stress it just disappears into thin smoke. Your kids are your best stress busters. They are not a cause of stress. They are stress busters. Enjoy with them. They're going to make your life easier in this lockdown phase and even in the long run.
Dr. Rashmin, this was great. I'll pick a question which is related to that, where you have mentioned about kids being more free bird, and come to Dr. Avinash. But just to add on what Dr. Rashmin said is that parents, it's okay to discuss your finances with your kids. If you have these problems, I will tell you one thing, that your kids, whether they are small or big, they understand. And if you sit across the table, explain them the ground reality, and tell them that what is the need of the hour, your kids will be far more responsible than you can even imagine. In fact, you may slip somewhere and spend into wrong direction, but your kids will remind you. So don't feel shy in talking to them, and don't shun them out by saying you are a kid, you don't understand, we have so much pressure. That's the worst thing that you can do. Dr. Avinash, I would like to prick your brain over here, where a lot of people have asked questions saying that kids are not getting to go out and play, and they are feeling cramped in the house. They are not doing physical activity, and they are always glued on the mobile or on some or the other screen. What is the solution for that?
There are two aspects to this. One is that till I think this week or last week, most schools had online classes. So the kids were anyway online for 4 or 5 hours because of those classes and teachers, following which they were online for entertainment. So whether they wanted it or not, they have probably been online for around 8 hours to 9 hours a day, which is sadly something which we didn't want. But now one more thing here is that if the kid is not online, what does he do? And if he's online, what is he doing? So if he's online and he's surfing the net, gaining information, seeing movies, playing games, well, I think a fine balance between all the activities that are being done online have to be done. That is one. Two, fixed hours of online use, particularly maybe post 10 p.m. No digital use post 10 p.m. or for that matter, where the entire family follows a digital-free environment. See, invariably, what happens is that post 10 p.m., all 4 or 5 members of the family are on their 4 or 5 gadgets in separate corners of the house. And nowadays, what has happened is, families, as I always say, we don't communicate verbally, physically. We communicate more on a WhatsApp group, which we call the family WhatsApp group. So, so children also message there. Is dinner ready? What is happening for dinner? That kind of thing. So all those kinds of communication happen over there. Now, so what is very important is that there is a need for the family to sit down together. So certain rules that, we are going to have lunch together. After lunch, we're going to sit for maybe an hour and a half together. We'll have dinner together. Post dinner, we'll sit and discuss. We'll probably see the news together. So one screen and 5 people seeing it unitedly is very different versus one child on one screen, one father on the screen, mother on the screen. That is something which I think is what we're looking at. It is a little difficult to get them to do physical activity, but there are ways and means of exercises that can be done within the house. Running a little bit up and down the stairs in front of your house, jogging up and down the stairs, those are things which can be done. Some amount of yoga can be done. Many buildings have terraces where access from time to time is available, and people do go there and dance and sing and do all kinds of aerobics and other exercises that they want to do. It's mainly the compound area which is restricted, and apart from that, we have buildings where we have balconies which are like as good as huge ledges. So we have people who can walk there and run there and do all sorts of things there. So that's also possible. But if all this is not available, then I think the only way out is some physical activity in the form of using the staircase in and around your house. Maybe even climbing up and down that one flight of stairs probably 20 or 30 times is good enough, rather than, that is something which the child can do. But it has to be something that the family takes up. And there's a lot of other things that can be done, aerobics and Zumba dance and all. Rashmi knows I'm not very much into all this, but nevertheless, it is something that, can be taken up.
Right. Thank you, doctor.
If I may
Yeah,
add,
Rashmin, come in.
I think this is also a very good opportunity for us to explore a completely different model of learning. Way back in the old days, we had the Gurukul-based learning, right? What was that about? It was all activity-based learning. And it was not rote memory learning. It was activity. It was learning through experience, right? And I think that's something which is happening now. For example, a lot of kids are beginning to learn things entirely on their own, which is not a part of their school curriculum. I'd just like to give you a few examples from my personal experience. One of my daughters has started learning to play the piano entirely on her own. She just said, you know what, Papa, we fortunately have a keyboard. She said, I want to learn the piano. So she went online, enrolled for an online class, and now she started playing it really well. My other daughter has, the hidden master chef in her has bloomed. She's cooking things, she's baking things, she's making pastries and cakes. My wife once in a while says, okay, fine, let's just clean the house for once. So they pick up one room at a time, and they all are doing it together, right? So these are life skills. You need to cook, you need to clean, you need to take care of your household activities, you need to take care of your finances. Most of us are very good at what our primary profession is, but we have lost some of the other skills that were essential. Our mothers were multitasking. Our fathers used to manage just about everything from their work to banking to buying the groceries on the way back home to everything. Most of the things that we are doing now is just logging onto Big Basket or Nature's Basket and having things delivered or calling up people. So activity-based learning is something that we need to do. We need to encourage our kids to pick up new activities, and very often they do it entirely on their own. What we try to do is saying, okay, wo sab to theek hai, wo ho gaya, but now it's time to get back to your books. Aapko abhi 2 mahine ka vacation mila hai. Let us try to see if we can cope up with your next few months of studies and try to finish it in advance. Pehle se kar lene mein kya harz hai? Would we want to do that in our vacations when we were kids? No. We would not come home until it was late in the night and we had no choice to do so. So we need to give our kids the same opportunity. We need to let them indulge in activities, and they are good at it. Your domestic environment has enough opportunity, enough stimuli. All these are a form of exercise. You give one kid the responsibility of cleaning one room, all right? It's a game, and score it, right? Who's going to get the highest score for today? They are doing physiotherapy, they are doing activity, they're doing exercise, and they are learning the most important art of accountability, of self-responsibility, right? So these are simple things. Many kids have started taking up painting. Many of them are doing Zumba classes online. Now, it's very boring to send them to an activity class. But if you have a bunch of kids who form their own group and they say, we have an online Zumba class and we all are doing it together, they are not interested in Zumba. They are interested in getting into an activity online with their friends. And then Zumba is an excuse, but they have to do something, right? So Zumba becomes a pretext, but eventually it also becomes an activity in itself. So we need to be smart about this rather than force them into doing things they don't want to do. Spark their interest in things that they like, they enjoy, and encourage them to indulge in it more and more. Reward them for it, acknowledge them for it. That's all they need. They don't need anything from us. They will, when we were young kids, absolute toddlers, pots and pans would be also toys for us. We didn't need sophisticated Faber metal toys, or we didn't have to go to Hamleys to get our supply of activity tools. We picked up whatever was there in an environment and made a game out of it, right? So most of us have done that. We need to let our kids explore that part of it. And that's good enough for them. They manage very well.
I'd like to add a point here, Atul.
Yeah,
From the experience, of the students that we've had, it was very surprising for us to see the kind of creativity that the students are able to come up during these times. In fact, in one zone, a group of students had come up with a music video, which was posted. So that was something good. And then there are a lot of creative experiments that they're able to come up during this time. So how the students are able to explore using the technology is quite interesting. Now, having said that, the other side of it is too much dependency on it, where the child is browsing through and then one page leading to another page and that page leading to another page. It's, though they're having that immediate need for gratification, but it leads to mindless browsing. Now, what they feel is, this is the kind of gratification that they look for, even for things when they are doing physically, right? So through the digital device, when they're going through something or the other, it's very interesting. And then when they're doing something physically, they find immediately bored, and then they start complaining, I'm bored and I want to get to a digital means. So like, as Dr. Avinash had mentioned, if there is a regulation on the time that is allotted on how they mindfully use the technology or the device, and then there is a restriction to it. Okay, so for this period, or if you would want to learn this aspect, yes, this is where you can use the technology, or under this situation of the lockdown, we are going to be mindfully using, and when things are normal, I think you'll have to get back to the physical activities. So that is where appropriate parental guidance will help the kids not get addicted to the devices, but in fact use them mindfully.
Vijayalakshmi ma'am, I think that's very true. And parents, this is something which most of y'all should take up, that there are lots and lots of activities which are available online. And if technology is used in a creative manner, then your kids will actually benefit in this time frame. They will pick up a skill. There were actually a couple of questions around skill, and I think our panelists have already answered that. Please encourage the kids to use technology to pick up a skill and master a skill, rather than just negatively telling them that they should not be in front of the screen. Let's look at it this way. Dr. Rashmin said that, to start doing online Zumba, when the kids are actually doing Zumba, they are going to not being glued to the screen, but they are just going to take the steps the way they take it from a TV. Here, they will probably take it from their friends or an instructor, and they might benefit even more because they will be exercising. There will be a stress buster, and they will enjoy it. They will feel much better. And that time of using the screen will also be utilized in a better way. So I think this is very important that they should take. Um, Vijayalakshmi ma'am, at this stage, I would like to call you in for a very important question, which has been asked a couple of times, that people have said that when the schools start, when the institutions start, um, will they be taking appropriate steps, especially when the examination starts, because we are expecting 10th and 12th examination, to take care of the hygiene and social distancing. Otherwise, this is not going to be of any use. Your take on it.
All right. So I think, social distancing has now become a new norm, whether we like it or not. It is a practice that it is going to stay for quite some time. And especially in educational institutes where we have kids at a younger age and the vulnerability is high, this is definitely to follow. Now, coming from our group of schools, yes, definitely there are norms which are being prescribed, and they are going to be seriously followed right from the senior level to the local administrators to the ground level, right? Various decisions are being made as to what are the kind of protocols and procedures that are to be followed once the schools are going to be reopening. The utmost or the most important thing is students' safety. We cannot risk at this point in time. So I would, I'm sure that would answer the question in terms of, would we take the required protocols and measures.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm sure that, before the reopening of the institutions, parents, don't worry, there will be a standard protocol which the state government or your respective boards will also announce, and which all institutions will follow it. A very important question which has come up, and I think probably this will be the last question of the evening because we are running short of time. And the question says that uh, the child loses self-confidence at regular intervals and actually gets motivated when the child interacts or is around with other kids. In this current situation, when he is not meeting the other kids, how can the child be self-motivated? Um, Panelists, please feel free to come in and give this, because I think most of the people who will be also self-motivated at a regular interval will be feeling low energies right now. So how to self-motivate themselves in this environment is something which, if you could throw some instances.
So if you go ahead, check, it is not only true for children, it's even true for us, because basically we would like to connect with people, we would like to meet people. That's what human life is all about. So what we do right now, say meeting hundreds of people online, and if you meet them in person, there is definitely a lot of difference, right? There is a connect which is something different, which we all know, right? And see, there are a set of things as a parent, because only a parent can do something about it. As a parent, who can possibly do is make them think, because as I said, one of the very important things which can possibly happen right now is helping your child to think more. Tell them true stories of inspiration. I mean, what I mean is real stories. I'll give you some examples. Indian stories, like a story of what happened in life of Dr. Kalam. Say what happened in life of say Honda, right? So something which children can connect to, a real life story, some of the toughest situation, what they have underwent, how they were able to come out of it. So as a parent, you can actually possibly inspire them, and apart from it, break or identify their good qualities in them, which you never had time in the past, and highlight it to them. Whenever something is reinforced, which we all know, anything which is reinforced stays for a longer time. So ensure you reinforce good behaviors. Whenever your children are doing something which is really very useful, you highlight it to them. That helps them to repeat it very frequently. So that is something what possibly you can tell them. And apart from it, one of the very important principle of life is life certain times is very unfair. So we need to accept it. So that helps us to handle it better. So this is the best time to teach that truth to your children, right? Certain times it's completely unfair, but still we need to handle it, go through that. That gives us a lot of strength. So it's a time to give your children a lot of strength.
If I may add something here,
Right.
like Vidyashankar rightly said, humans are essentially different from other species primarily because they are social animals, right? That's one of the biggest distinctions between most of the other species, barring a few, and us. We need social interaction to survive. It is a part of our identity formation. It is what defines us as different species altogether. But ironically, this very value of social interaction, of human touch, if you observe over the last decade or so, it has been gradually eroding. We have lesser friends now. We have lesser opportunities to interact with them anymore. We meet them much less. We talk to them a lot less. We are more involved with our work. We are more caught up in this typical cycle of our daily wage earning. We have more virtual friends than real ones. Very often, most of our virtual friends we don't like, but we just don't dislike either because we have to continue to have a certain number of likes and Facebook friends and stuff like that. So our social structure has been eroding, all right, for a while now. We just have not really bothered to pay attention to it. This opportunity, and again, I keep reiterating that statement, this is an opportunity, right? When you lose something, then you understand the true value of it, right? When we are denied the opportunity to interact with people, we actually are craving to do so. All right. And that is the whole irony of this entire situation. The paradox is while we had the opportunity, we never wanted to indulge in it. And now that we don't, we want it more and more. So it's an opportunity for us to actually think that if we need to interact, then are we really doing justice to that luxury or that privilege that we had? And we need to continue to sustain that effort. Again, we start with the basics. We start with our family first. We start with our immediate neighbors first. We start with people who we are able to connect with on a day-to-day basis, and then gradually expand it from that point onwards. And with regards to kids, kids see us do that. So we have to remember always, we are role models for our kids. The rules that we want them to follow, we have to follow ourselves. The rules that we expect them to be able to understand, we need to accept them ourselves. If we have a rule that you cannot use gadgets more than a certain hours a day, we need to follow the same rules ourselves. Otherwise, we have no grounds to stand on when we are going to try to discipline them. So we need to understand that if we need to socialize, we start at home. Charity begins at home. So start at home, spending more time with your family, with your immediate friend circles, with people who you can connect with on a day-to-day basis, your neighbors as well. Yes, social distancing is an essential thing, but that is not what we all need to understand and accept is our life has changed forever now. All right. This is the new normal. This is not abnormal. This is the new normal. Let's keep revisiting that term again and again. This is the new normal. So we have to draw up a whole new rules of life, a whole new sets of engagement rules. And we have to abide by those. We have to accept those. We have to adapt to those. That they apply to our kids, they apply to us as much. And if we are able to simply accept this, take it in our stride, we would be able to continue to function as well, if not better than earlier. But this is an opportunity for us to learn to value what we have, as opposed to be grouseful about things that we don't have anymore. So if we are able to integrate this simple fact of life, I think we all will be in a better place despite the tough times that we are dealing with.
Thank you, Doctor. At this stage, I think we have already run out of time, and I would like each panel members to give their closing comments. Just before panel members give their closing comments, I'll just spend 10 seconds. Parents, you can use the screen time more positively by showing some motivational movies to your kids. The way Vidyashankar Shankar was saying that, talk about the life and history of some of these great personalities like Abdul Kalam and others. There are so many other motivational movies that you can show it to your kids, which will definitely bring the spirits high in the family itself. And those movies will not just help your kids, but they will also help you come out. I will just go a round robin and ask our panel over here now to give their closing comments. Dr. Avinash, please go ahead.
Well, all I can say is that to parents and children that we are all in the same boat. So we are all in a lockdown. So it's not that it's just your family that's in a lockdown. And one important facet also is, I think the entire attitude we have towards the current situation will determine the attitude of our family. So if we feel negative and we feel upset and we keep cribbing about it and saying that government isn't doing anything, people aren't doing anything, we're all going to die and this and that, and I think then that will in turn affect our children and in fact in turn affect all our family members as well. But if we rather tell people that this is something which we are doing to save ourselves for a better future, and this is going to end, it's not something which is going to go on forever, so then I don't see any reason why we can't sort of stay positive. Just like we're doing a Zoom meeting here, children can have Zoom meetings with their friends, we can have Zoom meetings with our friends. And I mean, even as doctors, I mean, we work the whole day, we are seeing patients, we are stressed out. But then I mean, in the evening, I mean, I do spend time to catch up with friends like Rashmin, and then we talk to each other like schoolboys, and that is something which is very important for us to keep our mental health going. So the important thing is that we have to be in touch with the people who we adore, like, and care for, and staying in touch with other human beings, I think, is the key. The more we isolate ourselves in this lockdown, the more we're going to suffer mentally.
Very, very valid point. Dr. Rashmin, you go.
Yes, I agree completely with Avinash. I think we have to just redraw the entire set of rules. And like I said to you, that this is the new normal. So we have to simply accept it, not fight it. All right. Technology is here to stay. We are actually much the better off on account of technology, despite all the reservations that people have. All right. We wouldn't be having this kind of a discussion for such a large forum in any other time until say about 2-3 years back. So technology is here to stay. If we learn to use it constructively, if we learn to use it for the better, we can definitely make the most of it. And we have to maintain a positive outlook. That's the most important thing. We maintain a positive attitude, and we are a role model for our kids to continue to have a positive attitude towards their day-to-day lives and challenges as well. And again, it's an opportunity. This is a physical lockdown, but it's actually an opportunity for mental liberation, psychological liberation. So let's try and look at it positively. Let's try and look at it optimistically. And like I said, we probably will be much the better on account of this rather than much the poorer.
Thank you, Doctor. Vijayalakshmi, ma'am.
Right. As we see that, this is a new paradigm shift that we are all experiencing with, the kind of uncertainty and the roller coaster rides that we are day in and day out experiencing. I'll take 2 minutes, just to give a little story so that the parents can connect. So this is about a war hero, who was named as Stockdale. He is an US naval pilot. So what happened was during the Vietnam War, he was captured. And he was sentenced for 8 long years. So immediately after his release, one of the management gurus, Jim Collins, was interviewing him as to what was it, that helped him thrive through this long period of 8 years, where especially during the jail sentence, where there isn't a clarity as to what is going to happen when. So to which Mr. Stockdale, he's mentioned that, the moment he's understood that he's captured, he's had a determination to himself that he's not going to lose faith. A faith that he's going to be one day coming out of it, and that is what is going to change him forever. So that was one. And then immediately Collins had asked him another question, who are the set of people who were not able to come out of this kind of a situation, or the sentence, to which he is mentioned it was the optimists. So that was very surprising, when to which he's explained that there were this set of people who constantly believed that yes, we are going to be out of this jail for the next Christmas, and then when Christmas came, then they again had the thought, okay, not Christmas, maybe during Easter, and then when Easter had come in, and then it was like again, okay, not this year, it could be next year. So to which Mr. Stockdale had said in, yes, he has accepted the reality rather, and along with the faith that he's going to be out, and then also accept the reality that if not now, some when there is going to be a day where he's going to be coming out. So I think the current situation that we are in, it is like, yes, there is uncertainty that around, we are not too sure when, but for us constantly to have faith in us that we are going to come out as better individuals from this times. So this has worked for me, and I hope it will work for the others as well.
Vijayalakshmi ma'am, this is quite insightful. In fact, that also reminds me of a movie, um, parents, which you may want to see with your kids. There is a movie called as Life is Beautiful. This is about the time of Nazis, where the Nazis had arrested Jews, and how father plays a game with the child while they are in the in the concentration camps. So this is something which you can show it to your kids, showcase hope, and this will also give you hope. Vidyashankar, please go ahead.
Yeah, so at this point of time, if you go ahead, check, positivity is not a choice, because positivity is a must. Why? Because I have doctors here, I have Vijayalakshmi ma'am. So if you go ahead, check, one of the proven fact in medicine is this: positivity supports immunity, right? I mean, right now, we don't have any vaccinations, right? We don't have any medicines to support us. So only way which possibly you can fight out what we are going through right now is having higher immunity, right? Your immunity system has to be really good so that you can keep away yourself from whatever things which are outside. So if you need to keep away yourself from all these challenges, you have to stay positive. And if you need to stay positive, focus on positive things. There is, I mean, that's exactly what it is. I'm sure it is a proven medical fact. It's maybe doctors call it as placebo, right? So it's a proven medical fact.
It's not placebo. It's a very, very positive factor.
Right.
You should be spot on,
because I did had a few more sessions with some doctors. I mean, they did say, yes, this really helps. Once you stay positive, that is the vaccination right now we have, which is proven. Apart from it, we don't have anything else to fight against what is happening right now. So stay positive. Help your children to focus on things which are positive. Thanks.
Thank you, Vidyashankar. And at this, I would like to thank all the panel members. Thank you for coming out and spending time with the parents. Participants, thank you very much. We call it a close for this session now. Thank you very much. We'll come up with something else very soon.
Thanks, all of you.
Great, thanks. Hang in there. Good things are around the corner.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Lakshmi ma'am. Thank you.